And all right, time for Council Club once again. Today is Thursday, January 20th. There is nothing to review from this past Tuesday's meeting because there wasn't one due to Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. So we're going to just jump into what's happening for this coming week, Tuesday, the 25th. We'll get to the library stuff, but just as a little teaser, the library board did just vote tonight to approve the MOU with the city, memorandum of understanding, about the leases and the moving of the Dale Clark Library, and the lease at 84th and Center in the old Shopco building, which is in a floodplain. That lease was approved, and then also the other one was also approved. So there is one new library board member who abstained from voting because they said they didn't have enough information to feel comfortable voting, but it was unanimous otherwise. So good times.
You said they replaced Kimra like a month ago?
That I'm just realizing Kimra was school board. I said that to you, but I was wrong. I was conflating school board and library board, but I don't know who. Does anyone know who Cameron Gales replaced on the library board? Anyway, that's who did not vote.
The newest member.
The new member, yeah. So, all right, hopping into the agenda. Last week, we talked about how some items involving the Crossroads development at 72nd and Dodge, obviously, were postponed so that there was an opportunity for them to figure out some issues with a potential lawsuit due to some sewer pipe flooding issues with the Crossroads neighbors to the west. So that is back on for this coming Tuesday. So that is, there's items 6 through 13, a lot of different stuff going on with that development. We talked about it a little bit before, so we won't go into it too much, but we found out last Tuesday in the pre-council meeting that it was going to be postponed. So we haven't heard anything else yet, but we'll see if there is anybody who goes to pre-council that tweets about it. That's usually how we figure out what's going on at pre-council. Thank you, Dr. Aaron, who's usually there tweeting. But if not, it will be up for public hearing and vote this coming Tuesday.
Was that entire package of 6 to 12, was it postponed because of the lawsuit with Best Buy?
That's what it sounded like, yeah.
And so there was when we had the rain in July or August, I forget, one of the rain events flooded Best Buy.
I don't know if it was the rain event. I just thought it was something to do with some pipe that was cut off because it wasn't in an I don't really know.
Okay. But what about sidewalks? I remember last time you said they were talking about removing a sidewalk.
Yeah, there was in one of these agenda items, and again, I know we kind of talked about it last time, so I didn't find the item number this time, but they were removing. I know Cindy kind of just dove into it a little bit more and wasn't as concerned about the removal of the sidewalk because it sounds like on the west edge of the development, 76th, 74th Ave, 75th. I should pull up a map. Anyway, the west edge, they are not going to be putting a sidewalk on the west side of that street, but they will have one on the east side. And Cindy, hop in if I'm misstating something. But we'll, I'm sure it'll all just get approved.
I think you're right. And there was also the Chicago Street that they are only going to put a sidewalk on the north side, not the south side.
Yeah.
And I looked at the plans from way back and kind of that's how it shows it. So who knows? Because they keep changing up stuff. That whole thing with the sewer, the way I heard them discuss it is that when they were digging and or doing the elevation, whatever, that they came across a piece of sewer pipe that was not capped off. And from the Crossroads point of view, they sent letters to the other group like several times asking them for feedback and if they should cap it off, and they never ever did get a response. And so they ended up capping it off. And then there was that big rain and storm, and so then it did flood both Best Buy and Charleston's, I believe.
Yeah.
And yeah, so, and I don't know, has that been settled then, do you think? Or do you think it'll get laid over again?
I don't know. That's kind of what we were all just wondering about too, because we didn't find out the last time until pre-council. So At this point, it is on the agenda, so it hasn't been pulled yet, but as we saw last time, it was pulled kind of like in pre-council, and then they made that announcement during the 2:00 meeting. So we shall see. It'll be interesting to hear how that all shakes out. Good start to a friendly neighborhood relationship, not so much. So hope they get
Well, I actually, the conspiracy theorist that I am, I kind of like wondered if that group to the west of the crossroads is starting to kind of flex their muscle a little bit and create some issues.
yeah, it'll be fascinating to follow for sure. Yeah, I don't know. I guess, yeah, I have no idea. In general, am hopeful that it will move along and it will be better than just a pile of dirt, but I don't really have a whole lot of faith in some of what the developers are doing, given the conversations that we had a while ago with them from like a mode shift perspective, where we brought up that, they didn't have any accommodations for people arriving to their premise without a car. So it's like, guess what? You're right by the orbit line. You should plan on people riding their bikes there. There was nothing about bike parking in their plans or anything. So we did have some good conversations, and they were willing to amend some of their plans based on our feedback, which I guess was positive. So we'll just be kind of keeping an eye on it as it moves along, but I do believe it will be moving along. All right, then moving on to some other stuff that was laid over from before. Item 24 is the issue with the Walker's Convenient Mart on North 16th Street. There was a lot of pushback from the neighborhood.
That's a liquor.
Yeah, liquor license request. We'll see again if it moves forward or not. Also in entertaining liquor license applications, Chuck E. Cheese near the flooded Charleston's Best Buy area. That Chuck E. Cheese is going to be serving booze, they hope. That's, I don't know.
Does anyone remember? I remember talking to when the Brothers Bar was still open. I talked to Trey once about getting a liquor license. This would have been in 06, 07. So before Stothard, I guess Jim Suttle's time. And he was saying back then that they did not give they rarely gave a new liquor license. Like someone had to.
Yeah, right.
I guess I don't remember. It seems like we rarely hear a liquor license being
Denied.
Yeah. And it pretty much, unless, I guess this one we have from Smooth Move, it just seems like they hand them out like
candy.
And then with that, and then that website, that car insurance website that ranked, that said that Omaha has the #1 DUIs in the nation. It just seems like, I know that they can't, I don't know. I just wonder when's it going to stop? Like, are they ever going to say, you know what, we have enough bars and we have enough DUIs? Like,
I'd be surprised.
Yeah, especially Chuck E. Cheese. Ugh.
They had one for the aerial trampoline gym last couple weeks ago or something that also got approved. I don't know. Yeah, rarely is there much discussion, but as long as the applicant shows up, I guess that is the time where we usually see them like laid over any type of, issue with it, as if.
And usually if it's in District 1, which this one is, usually Festerson will give the applicant 30 seconds to tell us what your business is about. I can't wait if Chuck E. Cheese himself shows up in costume and we're hoping.
Oh, good. Don't hold your breath on that one. All right, moving right along. Consent agenda stuff. Public hearing already happened, so that'll probably just zoom on through. Those are items 32 through 43. I think the next thing that is on our list, this caught my eye because, again, from like the mode shift perspective and with all the pedestrian crashes and fatalities lately, items 46 and 47 are for some signal infrastructure projects. So if anybody's looking for an opportunity to talk about pedestrian infrastructure or signals and crossings and that sort of thing, items 46 and 47 could be your option. Because once again, as we always like to remind folks, you cannot just stand up and speak about whatever you want. It has to be on the agenda. So sometimes we look for opportunities to speak about things that maybe aren't specifically about, like, you don't have to say, I feel strongly about this particular signal infrastructure project. You can kind of editorialize a little bit and give me your 2 cents about pedestrian issues. Speaking of pedestrian issues, I just thought it was kind of like an interesting juxtaposition about like some potentially pedestrian money, compared to item 48, which is $1.8 million for more trucks, just 10 of them. But it's just interesting when you look at what they're, we don't have funding for Vision Zero, but we can, no problem. There will be no discussion about $2 million for trucks. Can you imagine what $2 million would do for pedestrian improvements? Anyway, I will stop beating that dead horse. Similarly, as far as like, if you want to talk about library stuff, you'll also have the opportunities with the lease agreements, but item 52 is also a library item that you could talk about. It's just for flooring at the Willa Cather branch, but $46,000 there, which hopefully will be approved.
It's something that, oh yeah, you have it number 73. So I'm jumping ahead. So another comparison I thought was interesting was, yeah, 46,000 for flooring, 195,000 for grass seed
at the golf courses.
At the golf courses. It's just crazy. Like, I know that they're not apples to apples, but almost 200,000 for grass on golf. And that's all, I think, just for 1 year.
Yeah.
And that flooring at the Willie Cather is going to last for a while, and just they get
benefit a lot
fraction.
more of the public.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Silly golf courses.
You guys, can I ask a quick question? Go back to 33. Did you discuss 33?
Only because there's no public hearing, and it'll probably just go through again, unless someone pulls off item 33, which that is TIF, tax increment financing for the
casino.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you were there the meeting last time, because this is not an additional, money. And Brinker Harding said something that was super condescending. He said, this is for the agreement, not the plan. And I'm sorry, I don't know the difference between a plan and an agreement are. I think it has something to do with specifically the bank financing part of TIF, but it's not additional money going to that Warhorse Casino. I do believe they are going to be asking for more money down the road, but this is just for the agreement. I think the bank agreement, the bank financing part.
But what's weird to me about this is a lot, we see TIF come up all the time, and please, again, as always, jump in when I'm wrong, but I don't feel like we usually see TIF come up twice like this. Like, once for the TIF request, sure, and then it's done. But this is like a whole nother ordinance about the agreement, and I just feel like I don't fully get it.
It's not the plan, it's the agreement.
I know, but why don't they do that with every TIF project then?
They might. I think
I don't think they do.
We're laser focused on casino TIF right now, or at least I don't know.
Because at the state, they're trying to prevent it from even being an option. But
I feel like last week's or 2 weeks ago city council meeting, there were several times where the city council spoke and they try to inform us, and they do this thing where you can't use the word when you're defining the word, and they kept like saying the word in the definition of what they're trying to explain, and it was just like, except it's difference between a plan and an agreement, and that was all he said. He didn't say like what the agreement and plan, how they difference, but that they are different. Yeah, it's frustrating.
Yeah, and there will be very little, if any, conversation about it since the public hearing already happened. But yeah, we will see. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope there is some discussion about it, because again, there's state opposition, but it's too late. I guess they're just gonna sneak right in. And again, when we talked about this originally, when the TIF casino came up, we found that I think it might be the only time in the country that a casino has gotten this type of tax increment financing. I think it came up in another city, and the article that I read said that they were basically like laughed out of the legislative chair. They're like, yeah, right,
Las
TIF
Vegas.
casino, yeah, right, get out of here. But Omaha's like, sure, you'd like to use TIF, why wouldn't you? So it was approved before. I don't know why this will not be.
And to his credit, Councilmember Rowe was the only person that voted against the Warhorse Casino TIF a couple months ago. I'm assuming he's going to vote against this one unless Brinker's like, it's the plan, not the agreement. And
yeah,
I mean, they only need 4 votes, so we shall see.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to move ahead to items 56 through 59 for each quadrant of the city: northeast, northwest, southwest, southeast, for sidewalk construction and repairs and ADA curb ramps. So again, if you're looking for an opportunity to talk about how pedestrian improvements are crucial, and this is great, and we like to see it, and we want to see more of it, and we actually want to remind everyone to shovel their sidewalks in the winter, and that, I don't know, I could go on and on about that, but I won't. But if you want to talk about sidewalks, you've got some opportunities. Again, that's 56 through 59. I did find some interesting, we've talked about this before, how when we see proposals come in, they choose the best, lowest and best, which a lot of times lowest is not best, but they just choose lowest. And then they come back later and have to ask for more money because they did a bad job of the bid, but then we've already chose them because they were the lowest. And then by the time they come back with their amended, request for more money, it's above what the lowest, I don't know. It's a mess usually. So, for example, one of these NL&L construction had a bid for, again, just one of the quadrants for $155,000 compared to DPS LLC, again, another construction company, I suppose, that came in at over $400,000. So more than double for the same bid. So I'm just wondering, are we going to see them on the agenda in another couple months when they're like, oops, we bid it wrong and we need another 300 grand, so
Change order. Yeah.
change order. Yep, exactly. So speaking of change orders, that is a great segue into items 60 and 61, which are change orders to the tune of about $2 million. Item 61, Spencer Management's low bid was just over $1 million, and the change order is for another 78,000 more. You kind of
Yeah, so I went on. It's I've been downloading all of the agendas for a couple of years now, and so I can search on my computer for the Omaha Public Works bid number, or I forget project number. So I did a search. I found the original bid, and so Swain Construction was the second lowest bid. They were only 67,000 more than Spencer. And so now Spencer is asking for 78,000 more, meaning they would not have been the lowest bid if they would have
been accurate with their proposal in the first place.
I feel like I don't know if we're going to city council this week in person. We've been attending on Zoom. But I think I might email Councilmember Palermo because he loves to go after public works. And I feel like this is, again, to beat it into them that lowest is not best. And people are gaming the system and they know how to throw a low bid, like, oh, we can just come back and get a change order and get paid eventually. I also wonder if it has something to do with inflation or supply chain.
Maybe now, but we see this all the time,
Yeah.
and we have for years. So yes and no, but it is, I think you should email Palermo. I actually, I guess we'll get to the library when we get to the library, but I had some good back and forth with Palermo about the library. So he's responsive sometimes. Yep. It's so funny. I email the entire city council sometimes, and sometimes I email just specific city councilors, and my representative does not email me back, but almost all the other ones do.
You just say
really special.
We're District 1.
Yep, we're in District 1, and he likes to ignore my requests. But at least, I've gotten some good back and forth with Begley and Palermo, and Don Rowe even. Yeah. All right, we will keep on keeping on. Oh, speaking of, this is kind of a similar because it's an amendment to a different professional service agreement, but it's item 62. I don't know if anybody dug into that a little bit, but it's with the parking department, and it's for cameras, curb management use and occupancy study along the bike lane and in the Old Market. So if anybody wants to talk about the Harney Street bike lane, this could be your opportunity.
How would that, I know that Mode Shift is working with
Spin. We got a grant from
you guys are getting
Spin.
Sensors, and is this complimentary or
that's what I'm wondering. I know. I actually want to talk to Dr. Wishart, who we wrote the grant together to get these, what was it called? Mobility data for safer streets. That was the grant that we applied for. We got Numina and Streetlight. Yeah. So one is some sensors that'll actually kind of track movements, people and cars and whatnot. And the other one, yep. So
cell phones to track people.
Yep. So I am kind of curious how this one, because it is computer vision camera installation, which is what our Numina sensors would be, which so yeah, I am curious about that.
And not to dog on the Harney Street bike lane, but I went and I was down on Harney Street. I noticed that the sensors, what are they called? The tube sensors?
Yeah.
Have been removed. The little computer is still chained to the sidewalk, but the actual tubes had to be removed for the snow plows. And so I think pretty much the entire month of January, I have documentation. So yeah, no data.
They said they were gonna try to replace the tube counters once the snow was removed, but I don't know if that's happened.
Well, we had
since the
another snow
last
right
one.
now. Yeah, I feel like that would be in the spring.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. And so then they can say, well, it's not being used. We didn't hit the numbers we wanted. You know, we already know that that project will be whatever the mayor wants it to be, which probably is not going to last. But
And so when do we know, going back to this number 62, do we know when these cameras are going to be installed?
no, I didn't see there wasn't too much detail.
Okay.
But it just kind of was sort of interesting to me that that's what we as Mojo just got a grant to do. So I don't know if this is similar. It seems pretty similar, but we'll see. And now I think we actually have decided that we're going to use the Numina sensors, and Cindy's been on a thread about this. But it'll probably go to 72nd and Dodge instead of the Harney Street stuff, because it's pretty difficult to work with the city on some of that stuff. But okay. What else?
So 69.
Oh yeah, $23,000 for professional services agreement with Olson for Tier 1 investigation services, which I was like, what is that? But it turns out I think it's just for a work plan and site assessment and closure on North 30th Street. It has to do with the Choice Neighborhood Implementation Grant. So I'm sure they're just doing some redevelopment there. And
we sometimes have someone on that works, or should say, well, yeah, used to be with Olson.
Oh.
I might have to ask them what their thoughts are.
All right.
Yeah.
Golf grass we already talked about. Human rights and relations. Okay, so this is item 75, the human rights and relations debacle. There has been a lot of conversation about it and pushback and opposition and just questioning about what's going on with the Civil Rights Hearing Board and how basically a lot of this seems like it kind of has come up for review due to HUD agreements, and we have not had a civil rights hearing board for like 22 years or something like that, which is shameful. But so they're going to actually revive the civil rights hearing board. It'll only be 3 members, I believe, instead of what used to be, I think, 11. So yeah, we will see, but that'll probably go through because it's been postponed, I think, twice now.
Yeah.
All right. Number 78, and as always, hop in at any time. Yeah, Vince, do you have a question?
Yeah, I see the Human Relations Board is way down in membership too. They used to have 7 or 8 people, now they're down to like 4. So I haven't been following that. What's been the back thing going on in the last, let's say, couple years since Franklin Thompson kind of took over? Again, I wasn't too happy with that. You know, a guy who's already been employed by the city for a while. So is there any backstory going on there?
Basically, you know, I mean, first of all, to your point about how, yeah, Franklin Thompson already has worked for the city. He was a city councilor, and he's, you know, they just keep recycling the same people. It's so incestuous. And it's just like moving everybody around who's already been, you know, making decisions for long enough. But so he has been presenting on it, you know, the last several weeks. And Councilor Johnson, who represents District 2, pushed back a lot and was like, this is an important deal. And yeah, it should be revived, but we need to get more people on it. And then there were some other people that would speak in opposition as far as just some of the language and some of the responsibilities of the HRR board. I don't know, I'm probably not doing it justice.
So is that a mayor appointed board?
I feel like they all are. Like all the boards and commissions, yeah.
I mean, this kind of reminds me of the land bank, how there's been vacancies on the land bank. There's been vacancies on, not that it's as important, but the
parks,
public
and
art.
arts. And
yeah, the public art one is like, I don't even know if they can, I guess a quorum would be majority of the current members, not total members. But I would suggest looking into why hasn't the mayor appointed, or why can't she find people to appoint?
Well, and the appointments that she does make, they are all just like, yes. They do and say whatever she wants them to say.
Political, yeah. They're all political appointments.
Yeah. And that's what is actually, I just saw that Senator McKinney just proposed library boards being elected instead of appointed. So we will see how that could go, because I think that, unfortunately, like we're saying, with so many of these boards and commissions, they're worthless because they just do whatever she wants them to do. They just are there to do her bidding. And so of course no one pushes back or asks important questions, and then we just see stuff pushed on through, like with all this library crap.
Do so Senator McKinney, would that be at the state level?
Yeah.
And then would it also be for
Municipalities over
metropolitan
300,000.
class,
Yeah.
okay.
So right now it would only apply to Omaha, but Lincoln's on its way to surpassing 300. So eventually it could include Lincoln, but
we've talked about chief of police being an elected position. We had a whole list of
what should be elected
Yeah.
instead of appointed.
I would like
because-
our election commissioner to be elected and
Mhm.
not appointed by the governor. That's my new pet project, but
so many
yeah,
ways that
or
things could
be
better.
appointed by Douglas County commissioners, not the mayor. Or I'm sorry, not the
Governor.
governor. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
So much to wish for, but yeah. So I don't know that that really answered your question, but it does seem like they're trying to change some of the rights and responsibilities of the HRR board and then revive the Civil Rights Hearing Board. But of course, Franklin Thompson made it sound like this is no big deal. It's been operating without it just fine. People, if they have complaints, they can just go to the law department. It's like, no, this probably HUD would have a problem with something that isn't not a big deal. Like if HUD's saying, hey, we might not want to work with you as a municipality anymore if you don't revive this, like that's, to me, that seems like no big deal, but we'll see. So I would imagine that they've had enough back and forth at this point to feel comfortable voting it on through, but yeah, we shall see. Okay, 78 is a $500,000 settlement for a crash due to a public works water truck, I think, from 2018. I think, people and property were injured in this crash, and it's, $500,000 settlement.
And one of the reasons I put that in our notes was because about a month ago, there was a settlement with OPD, civil rights settlement.
Because it was racial profiling, because they pulled over people because they were Black and then changed their race on the report so that it would just get like pushed through, and then they got called out on their bullshit and then had to pay.
And that police officer is still working,
Yeah, of
is
course.
still in the force.
Sure.
And I just wonder if the person that was driving the public works car that was at fault, it's in the report, they ran a green light or ran a red light,
Yeah.
and injured this person. $500,000 is a little bit more than the OPD settlement, the police
Yeah.
settlement.
Mhm.
But it'd be just interesting to. I feel like the last time there was a settlement, they literally did not even discuss it. There was like, here's your money. Like
Cost of doing business.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just.
But I wonder if if the public works, if they're gonna hold them to a higher standard that they hold the police.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. Oh, okay. Item 79 is $800,000 for some repairs to drainage pipes along the Little Papio Creek. So issue with the levee, I guess. So the Papio NRD would be doing that.
And that's
repair
the
work
trail?
near the trail, yeah.
Yeah.
Little Papio, yeah. Oh, and then item 86 is just silly, and there wasn't a specific total, but item 86 is for Body Basics to maintain and repair all of the workout facilities at the police stations around town. So that was just kind of a funny one to me. And then let's just talk about the library, because that's kind of the thing that is.
So it's the last two items on the agenda.
Yeah.
It's 92 and 93. It's gonna be another 3 or 4 hour
Meeting.
meeting.
Yeah,
And then
I bet it will be a big
and
one.
then those last two things are gonna take at least
The bulk of
probably
the
an hour.
meeting, I think.
It's gonna add
And
another hour.
I mean, I do have to say, yeah, Palermo is not always my favorite. I mean, whatever, we won't get into all that, but he did respond and he said that he also, well, I guess, first of all, if we back up, he pushed back on the library stuff because they were trying to get the Noddle agreement voted on, which has been laid over to February 1st, because they're like, why are we going to hire a consultant to do the move when we don't even have the leases finalized? And I did like that, yes, what Mr. Benson has put in the chat, we already have a library that we own. Palermo says, listen up, folks, we already own a library. Like, we don't need to be rushing this. And I think that is one of the big concerns, is the timeline. Like, it's completely unrealistic to think that we're going to have everything renovated in that I'm sorry, yes, it's a historic building, but like, woo, it needs some work.
What did Palermo
And-
call it? He almost cussed.
Yeah, he almost called it a pile of shit.
He said a
caught
pile,
himself-
and then he's
yeah.
like, it's a pile.
Yeah, he's like, I almost said it, but it's
Yeah.
not in good shape. So yeah, it's rough. And I don't think that by November of 2022, especially with like supply chain issues and just like everything, I just think it's completely unrealistic as far as the timeline goes. So item 92 is for the lease agreement at 1401 Jones, and that's $465,000 annually, and that's just base rent. For 5 years, the city council agenda says it's a 5-year lease, but then when you look at the terms in the actual contract, it says 10 years, 120 months. So I don't know. Anytime there's discrepancies like that, I'm just like, why aren't we just saying it's a 10-year lease? Or like, I don't know. And again, I have dealt with leases when I owned property in Benson, but it seems, I don't know. All of it stinks. And who cares? Like, we could find all sorts of discrepancies and none of it would matter. I hate to.
Remember with Troy
say that.
Anderson, he was saying how they want to do a 5-year lease because something might come up even better in 5 years.
Yeah.
And so we can then renovate a whole new historic building.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of money. So for the 2-year agreements, we're looking at 4.3 million.
Go ahead, Vince.
Yeah.
Does anyone know who owns 1401 Jones?
Yeah.
White Lotus.
Who's
White Lotus, a developer group in town.
Yeah.
and what's the connection to White Lotus and the library board? Someone is married to someone on White Lotus.
Is that, I don't know.
I know there's a library
feel like
board
there
and there's
was
the
a-
Friends of the Library.
Yeah.
There's someone in one of those positions that has a connection to White Lotus. If you're,
It stinks. It's
Yeah.
all corrupt and terrible, and I hate it. And that's why we talk about it. It's like, we always call this commiseration club because we don't, I mean, it's like, I don't know. It's hard. I don't like it.
and then so the 84th Street, Sarah found a special peril insurance requirement at the old Shopco.
Because it's by the
location,
damn creek.
and it's in a floodplain.
Yeah.
And someone else pointed out that that's where we're going to be putting our archives.
Yeah.
Our like irreplaceable archives.
And the genealogy collection that's the most used. And they don't even really know if they're going to have it open to the public. It's a nightmare. It all is so poorly thought out, and they're just like scrambling. It's not good. I don't like any of it. But yeah, the special peril insurance, I thought those were special words. I did bring that up to Palermo in my email. I thanked him for pushing back on some of the library bullshit. And I said, I think that this does stink, and I think the timeline's wrong. And I think that you're asking good questions and you need to keep asking questions. And also, did you know that the Shopco's in a floodplain? And he's like, are you serious? I did not know that. That is ridiculous. Blah, blah. I'm going to ask a lot of questions. If I don't get them answered to the way I want them to, I'm not going to vote for it. And I was like, great, please don't vote for that. So, I mean, go ahead.
Last week it was 4 voted for the layover, all like the
Sure.
Democrats on the board
Yep.
or on the council.
Yep.
And it seems like, yeah, what's your back and forth with like Bagley, or has anybody else had back and forth with other folks besides Vinny about like whether or not they're looking to keep pushing?
I've only heard back from Palermo about it.
Library.
Yeah. Has anybody else emailed or?
And I think
Okay.
Palermo was one of the only council members that went to the library meetings and even
Yeah.
said how he couldn't find out any information. So he went to one of the library meetings and got a bunch of, found out a bunch more than.
And the thing that just is so annoying is, like at the library board, I was just following somebody on Twitter who was tweeting from the meeting saying, again, there's a lot more people standing up saying, don't even move the library. Like, the library's fine where it is. Again, we own it already. It's like, should be incorporated into the new Gene Leahy Mall renovation. Like, this needs to be like the star of the mall, and once again, the library board says, oh, thank you for your comments, and then votes completely the other way. So it's like, it just begs the question, who are all these people working for? And it's definitely the mayor who works for developers. Why do the residents continually get put last on the list? And that's what it feels like. We are all just kind of second thoughts for her. If we're not making money for her, I think she just wants to, we all know she wants to sell the land to probably Schlossberg is my guess, who's with Heritage. It's just all.
Or Pfizer.
Yeah, and I guess like I've just been kind of like confused, and I don't feel like I've had like, I mean, I don't have a ton of time to just like do public records requests and stuff. So I've been trying to follow like the Save OPL Twitter and stuff. And so it's like, okay, so first there was this uproar about like, I mean, so it just seems like the conversation about heritage services is not still continuing, but is like still a part of this whole plan, So it was like 2 months ago, we were talking about heritage services, moving the library, possibly like sort of like quasi privatizing it.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about like definitely moving the library, but the like arm about heritage services is not being talked about in any of these public meetings. And so like, I guess I kind of like have the picture, but it's like, it just, I don't know. I guess I'm just complaining, but it just seems like another like sort of like, like cape or veil over the whole thing, where it's like, it's kind of been presented like it's two separate things, but it's like clearly just like one large plan with like a lot of moving parts that seem like they're all like just being figured out like in real time or something like that. And I mean, I don't know if it's like worse that they've had this planned for years and we're just finding out about it, or that it's like all just being figured out in this moment. But like both scenarios seem bad.
Yeah, I mean, and that's just it. The lack of transparency is the biggest issue with that I keep hearing from all sorts of folks, is like, why, and even from the city council, gratefully, saying this is a backwards process. This is not transparent. You need to be more informative. We didn't even get a briefing. I did appreciate that Festerson pushed back to Troy Anderson, who was there from the mayor's office presenting on it, saying like, we didn't even get a briefing on this and you're asking us to vote on this. This is ridiculous. So, I hope that they have spines and are able to continue to like push back and say, we don't understand it. We don't like it. There's no transparency. We're hearing from our constituents that they don't want it to move, and they definitely don't understand why there's such a rush and. And do
you remember when Noddle spoke at the last meeting? He was saying like, we want to get started as soon as we can so that we can engage the public. There's been a serious problem with public engagement. And so it's like, we're going to hand $500,000 to Noddle Company to then engage with the public. And I think all he was going to say is, okay, the library is going to be closed from this day to this day. We're going to open up genealogy, on this point. That's pretty much communication. But yeah, the lack of communication is apparent. And I feel like, yeah, Heritage Services is definitely still going to be donating that money. But I think they kind of got a little bit burned on that rollout of the records request that kind of aired their dirty laundry.
Yeah, with all the code names and stuff, like, yeah.
Yeah, well, and in like the heritage services discussion, they're saying that they have to move the library because it would be too expensive to renovate. And like, I guess I would like to see like what it would cost to renovate the library versus renovate this new spot plus rent it for $500,000.
That's exactly what I'm thinking, Alex, because I'm like, by the time we do the math on that, like, even if it isn't a full 10-year lease, even if it's 5 years here and 5 years at Shopco, like if we combine those resources and actually just revamped the land that we already own and the building that we already have, like, I just don't understand. And so I don't think it is understandable. I think that that's the whole thing that a lot of us are realizing is like, this stinks. And it feels shitty because it feels like there's nothing we can really do except for I'll continue to email the city council because now it's in their hands because the library board has already pushed it on through, again, mayoral appointed board. But yeah, $5 million could go a long way towards upgrades at the existing structure, which again, I think should stay in the middle of town, middle of downtown, and at the beginning of the mall. Like, to me, that makes so much sense. It should be like a gem of downtown. You go to other cities and they understand that like public libraries are important.
And so do we know if and when the Dale Clark Library is sold to whomever, where will that money from the sale of that library go to? I assume it just go into the general fund, which then a third of it will go to police.
I was following like the live tweets, like Jane's live tweets, and she said that it has to go into capital improvement, was something that someone said in the library meeting today.
Mm-hmm.
And that's capital improvements for the entire city, not just for libraries.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Well,
that's,
I guess I don't know. I don't know that much.
I feel like there was a specific library fund, and then there was capital improvement money.
That can go to like
yeah.
streets and
What
yeah.
percentage does libraries get of the general fund? Is it 1 or 2%?
It's woefully underfunded. That's all I know when it compares to other, like peer cities or whatever. I don't know.
I think another thing that's interesting is just like, obviously like there's tons of like, and like, I mean, if this does happen, I think that it actually wouldn't be the worst case scenario if somebody buys a lot and builds something on it, because the mayor has we've knocked down buildings before and then not even been able to get anything on that land. So
Yep.
it's like, I mean, but I guess like if I was those folks that was spending all this money to, that TIF for like the glass skyscraper, how they want to like encase those twin buildings in TIF, like I would be worried about who they're trying to sell this land to, because they clearly are like redeveloping that building so that they have a view of the mall.
Right.
But if whatever goes here is too tall, like it could very well cut
Block
off
what's happening there.
the benefits of that development, which could lead that also to be a bad TIF investment,
Yeah.
Do you remember what Stothard said when they asked her what's going to go in the Dale Clark Library? Do you remember her answer?
No, would she say skyscraper?
She said
Yeah.
something tall.
Yeah.
Literally, she's like, I want something tall, something
Yeah.
big.
It'll affect the skyline.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that actually, that TIF request is $18 million, and it's in the non-action items. It's a number 115, but it's an $18 million TIF request for the glass front and renovation of the 2 existing towers.
What's the name of the project?
Yeah, thank you. I was like, guys know what I'm talking about, but what is it called?
Yeah, let me just scroll down.
'Cause it has a nickname too, which I prefer the nickname. Vulture.
Oh,
Vulture.
well, it's called the Central Park Plaza Tax Increment.
But someone I could have sworn it was Vulture. Somehow they nicknamed it Vulture something. I
That sounds
forget.
better than Central Park Plaza.
I don't know if you saw Senator Justin Wayne specifically commented on how this is an abuse of TIF.
Yeah.
And because not only is that area, that CRA blighted, it is extremely blighted. So you get an extra 5 years to pay off your loan. I don't know what else comes with extremely blighted.
I don't either. I think it's just an extension of the payback. It's 15 goes to 20. But yeah, I mean, and I guess that's the other thing is like either the Dale Clark Library parcel of land is extremely valuable, or right across the street it's extremely blighted. So like pick one, but you don't get to play both ways. But you do because you're the mayor and you're gonna do whatever you want to do. I don't know. Usually we have some librarians on the call that give us other fun facts about library stuff once we turn off the recording part. But I guess, does anybody else have anything else to say about the library stuff? Maybe we already said this, but the Noddle consulting agreement, which would like help with the public engagement and then the moving of the Dale Clark, that has been laid over till February 1st. So a week from.
Noddle would be doing the public engagement.
Yeah, cute, huh? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
They're really great at doing public engagement around all their developments. So
Yeah, right. I
got
know.
that playbook down.
High hopes. For sure. Yep.
Okay.
Oh,
I like what Mr. Benson's saying in the chat about like asking Vinny to ask specific questions.
yeah.
And I think, if somebody wants to tackle Vinny, I'd be happy to start a conversation with Pete about it, because I feel like I have a pretty good,
Yeah.
for some reason he does answer mine.
Yeah. Well, maybe you didn't run against him for city council.
I think that might have something to do with
Might factor in. But I've got a thread going with Palermo, so I'll follow up with him and ask specifically about like how much, have we even gotten a quote for how much it would cost to renovate Dale Clark? Has anyone
Right.
heard anything
Well,
about
there's
that?
apparently there is, because they said that what it would cost is so expensive that they need to move it and build another site.
That's what we should pull a FOIA on. It won't matter and it won't come in time. They'll wait till the last time I pulled an open records request that was pertinent to a city council meeting on a Tuesday. they got it to me that Wednesday morning. And I was like, you jerks, you do this.
Yeah.
But so, but I really am curious about that. I keep thinking about that. But by the time that we pay to do all the renovations and the leases and
the
the
move.
triple nets and the move and all of it, like that's just seems like such a waste of money when we already have an asset that sure it might need, you know, some improvements. But if the argument is the building's too old, why the hell are we moving it into an even older building? Like that, it just
Right.
again doesn't smell right.
I think that's good. I think that, yeah, I might ask Pete to suggest that there be like a more open engagement with like reps from Heritage, all the library board, Noddle Company, like, and the mayor or something like that.
Yeah.
But I'll, you know, just try to kind of work a different angle so that if we just ask them to all ask the same questions, then they'll be like, wait, you took my
Yeah.
thing.
You're in cahoots. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that sounds good. Yeah.
I have this like image in my mind of like, well, when they go to demolish the library, I'm just going to stand in front of it. So
Yeah.
they can't do it.
Strap myself to the doors. Yeah, I know. It's
Just
going
to
to
be
be a,
petty.
it seems so unnecessary. And it just seems like if we're also going to get real about climate action, like destroying buildings is not good for that either. So I don't know. There's a million different angles we could attack it at, but I'm not sure that I don't want to be such a downer. Maybe some of it will matter, but at least if we get the city council asking more questions, I don't know. I don't even know what we could hope for, frankly.
Yeah, I think that is a really good point, though. It's just like, we're going to write a climate action plan this year, but you're going to knock this building down. Like, maybe we should wait to like make these big moves until we have this action plan to guide us, because if we do it right, like this is not going to be something that we'll go forward doing.
Right, right. I think that there's a lot of different angles that we could push back on it because it makes no sense in so many different ways that I think that if we all just kind of bring a different piece and different questions, all we can do is try, I suppose.
There was also just what you're saying about the floodplain reminded me that a couple of weeks ago at city council for that new development on Saddle Creek,
Yeah.
they were there was a water engineer that came up and was talking about how like the new flood zone maps are going to be released. And so I wonder if that will even, you know, the old Shopco would go from being in maybe a flood zone to 100, you know, from 100-year flood zone to a 50-year flood zone. So that's another thing too. Not only is it a flood zone, but flood zones are rapidly changing. Expanding.
And getting worse. Yeah, exactly. So if it already was, and that's a good question about how old are the current ones, I don't know. But yeah, it would be interesting to figure out how that all works.
You could check out for the question, what's the flood designation? You can find that on Dogis. One of the overlays is flood zones.
Cool. Okay.
But also I felt funny about it, but I poked that water engineer on LinkedIn.
Oh, good.
Like,
yeah.
Hey, I saw you on city council.
Yeah, nice. Did you get a response? Are you talking about floodplains and water stuff now?
I did not get a response yet.
Maybe at some point.
Yeah.
I guess the other thing that, you know, talking about timelines and construction costs and all that stuff, Scott highlighted a point about the 38th Ave project got delayed because all their costs have changed so much that they're having to resubmit their TIF application.
And we were talking about the spec building or Restoration Exchange earlier, and this is sort of in line with the 38th Ave and Dodge near the Taco Bell. They're going to knock down 3 somewhat historic buildings,
they're supporting properties, I think.
Yeah.
Oh,
Vince,
you're on mute.
You're on mute, Vince. Unmute.
Hey, Vince, unmute. I want to hear what you're saying.
Nope.
Oh no, we can't hear you.
Unmute.
I'm
Can you
clicking.
unmute him as the host?
I'm clicking. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, they call those buildings contributing buildings because they contribute to the overall Gold Coast Historic District, which has a north side version north of Dodge and a south side version south of Dodge or along 38th and maybe a couple other streets north south. So yeah, it's kind of similar, although the spec building was much more intricate in its design and the use of metal and so forth. So it was an unusual building compared to those ones that are on in the Gold Coast district. But it'll be interesting to see kind of what happens. I know Restoration Exchange, the organization is kind of in a down cycle right now due to monies and lack of direction. So they put out some initial things on it when it first came up. I haven't heard anything since. So we'll see. But the apartment dwellers there were pretty active with saying, hey, where are we going to go? This is great for us right now. We enjoy living in here.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what the Blackstone Neighborhood Association does. And if Lund zips in on that a little bit with the Blackstone district, because they're trying to do some, there's a lot of new stuff there, but they're also trying to blend in some of the historic stuff that's in that area. So there'll be some more discussion on it, it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have until March 1st to resubmit the cost. So is it,
The pro forma
is it for
the
TIF?
application? Yep.
Yeah, so they're coming back. This was 2 weeks ago, but quite a delay on the 38th Ave TIF request.
The Landmarks Heritage Preservation Commission, which is another one of the appointed boards of the city, should be coming out with some kind of recommendation on that issue as well. And I haven't heard from them. I used to go to their meetings once in a while. I haven't been down there lately. But again, that's a board appointed by Stothard, but it does have a couple folks on there that are not necessarily going along with Gene's, ride. So let's see.
Good to hear. Because I know that the planning board did recommend approval for that project, which goes against so many of the other studies and surveys and documents and plans and, talk about public engagement. A lot of those supporting documents were based on public engagement and feedback. And so now we're just like, just kidding. We don't care what you think. We're going to go ahead and do it anyway. Oh, that's a whole nother discussion, which we will enjoy talking about probably next week.
Scott, how did you find out about the fact that they needed to resubmit TIF? I didn't catch that.
Probably pre-council.
I heard, I think I saw it on Twitter during a pre-council tweet from Dr. Erin Feichtinger. And she said that, I guess I could go back and find the tweet, but yeah, I think it was because the cost of construction and everything has changed so much from when they originally submitted their documents to now that they have to they're going to either have to ask for more TIF or build fewer units. So,
okay. Well, I guess it's good news that they have to resubmit.
Yeah. It probably will just be like, okay, yeah, we already know what you're doing. That's fine. Move it on along. I hope I'm wrong, but we'll see. But yeah, so that has been postponed until the first. So not this coming Tuesday, but the next one. So we'll talk about it on the 27th, again at Council Club. We are at about an hour, so if anybody has anything else they want to say before we at least hit stop on the recording, tell us what you're thinking about. Otherwise, you gonna say something?
No, I just, no.
Okay, well then I'm gonna hit stop recording, and then if anybody else, let's see, Shopco is in a 2% within an area of 1% chance of annual flood. Okay, so interesting. Yeah, just
A text with the flood zone.
floodplain stuff. Yeah, that's what I will be sending to Palermo. But yeah, so everybody email your city council person, push back on this library stuff, ask for more transparency and communication and actual, I don't know what word I want to use, but like giving two flying farts about public engagement. Like people are asking for these things already and they're willfully ignoring it. So I don't know, just ask your city councilors to push back and vote no. But I'm going to hit stop on the recording and then we will chat more amongst ourselves.